love running. I love running. I love running. I love running.
How to fit footwear for your children. First thing I would point out is the natural shape of a child's foot. 100% of the baby's feet that I've noticed, including my own daughter's, which we have magnified here, are widest at the ends of the toes. So that's a very important landmark to appreciate when fitting footwear. Not so surprisingly, the children's footwear for infants and toddlers up to approximately age 1 will be shaped like a natural human foot. It will be shaped widest at the very ends of the toes. First thing you're looking for as a parent is to make sure that the shape of the shoe is the shape of your child's natural foot. Second thing that you want to appreciate is for the normal development of your child, their foot needs to sense their environment very much like their hands need to sense their environment, which is to say that the only thing that is required for the child's foot in this stage of development is a thin covering. Around the home, it's completely appropriate to be fully barefoot or in stocking feet. When you go outside or when the child is out playing, though, it's completely appropriate just to add a thin layer of protective material such as this light moccasin. Quite frankly, that's all the protection the child's foot needs. That child will start gaining sensory information from their environment that will help their brain to develop their nervous system. So as you start to get a little bit older, kids' footwear starts to get a little bit more built up. However, we still have the same goals. We still desire for the footwear not to have an elevated heel on it. In other words, we want it to be completely flat. Another footwear industry term is zero drop. Notice that this footwear selection is completely flat. There's no heel, and that child's toes can be completely level and flat on the ground. Notice also that this toe box is widest at the end and not at the ball. And to satisfy our fourth criteria, this is a flexible, malleable shoe. This shoe is not going to hamper the development of that child's foot sensing the ground. So when you're in the store, those are the 4 things to start appreciating. As the children get a little bit older, same things are still going to apply. You're still going to want that flat shoe. You're going to want the shoe to be a malleable shoe. And quite frankly, those recommendations persist for all of us as we get older. So you'll notice this model here is widest at the ball and not at the ends of the toes. You'll also notice if we put this selection on the side profile, you'll see that the heel is slightly higher than the front of the foot. You'll also notice this feature we call toe spring, where the toes are not on the ground, they're up in the air. The toes are very important for gaining sensory information from the ground, and for that reason they should all be down level against a support surface. Furthermore, this footwear selection is on the rigid side. You'll notice if I take this shoe here and I bend it, there's very little structure to the shoe, which is a positive and valuable thing. As soon as I try to twist this shoe, there's no movement whatsoever. It would be like putting your child in a cast, and unfortunately will hamper the development of that child's foot. By pulling out the sock liner, also known as the insole, and you want to place your child's foot on top of the sock liner. Now this should be the fitting guide for the child. You'll notice that this sock liner is widest here, which means that this shoe will begin to shape that child's foot in the direction of a bunion, in a tailor's bunion, and it will be tapered or deformed into the tapered shape of the toe box. Compare this to another shoe that's out there, which is a foot-shaped shoe, very flexible, negligible heel, if any at all, and when you put it on the flat surface there is no toe spring, as we saw with some of the other models. And notice also that if we remove the sock liner from this shoe and stack it up alongside of the shoe that we just looked at, this particular model will enable that child's foot to be widest where a natural foot should be widest, which is at the ends of the toes. You'll notice the ends of the toe box wider than the ball of the toe box. So we would encourage parents to purchase a shoe like this, as it is more in keeping with natural foot development. Nice and flexible and loose, lightweight, shaped like a foot. This shoe doesn't have a removable liner for us to take out, so in the store, superimpose the shoe upside down and superimpose your child's foot on top of the sole. And you would again want to see your whole child's foot on the sole and not splaying beyond the sole, because the upper part of the shoe is going to be a little bit narrower than the sole. You're going to be inundated with a lot of brands and a lot of selections out there. This shoe also has a generous amount of toe spring, where the toe box of that child will be holding the ends of the toes approximately 25 to 30 degrees above the support surface. Now, some shoes will have this built in, but it will be flexible enough that it will bottom out when the child walks on the shoe. This is not such an example. I'm applying some pretty significant force to this shoe, and yet the toe box, because of the way it's sewn and glued in, the toe box does not go back down to the ground. However, there are other models out there, such as this model here, which I also have my two daughters wearing, that when they wear the shoe and their foot is in the shoe, very little amount of body weight is required to actually flatten out that shoe. So to answer your question as parents, if the shoe has a little bit of the toe spring while you're looking at it in the store, put your child's foot in the shoe and have them stand in front of you, and if you notice that that toe spring bottoms out, you're probably going to be okay. It's the rigid toe spring that no amount of pressure is going to bring that toe box down to the ground. You can be assured as parents that that toe box is beginning the crippling process at your child's tender age that will develop into chronic foot problems at a variable later age in life.